Well, hi and welcome to my shop. So today I'm going to try to make this the last day that I work on this radio. So a couple of things I've done just before we get going here, I'll show you. One is I installed this yellow capacitor in parallel with this electrolytic one just to ensure that this, if it, the job of this is to RF quiet this line, I just want to make sure it can do it. So I put in a regular capacitor just in case the electrolytic one's not up to it, and I just made permanent the capacitor here that I had installed to bypass this original one. Otherwise, I think everything is pretty much original in here. And the last thing I want to do, assuming I'll turn this on and it won't pop, the last thing I want to do is tune these guys in here. I've been thinking a lot about this. I think all I want to do is tune the radio into a favored station. 640 AM comes to mind. That's a powerful station out of Toronto, quite popular, and right around it are other stations, 590, 610, 640, and 680. These are all popular radio stations. They're all clustered together at the low end of the band. So all I want to do is tune this for that low end, which probably means doing only 4 of these screws, maybe 8. We will see. So the way I want to approach this is I want to tune this guy into 640. I'm going to use my signal generator to ensure I've got 640 and I can control the signal level coming in. And I can also move its frequency around a little bit, a lot better than just tuning in a station. And then this will be positioned in a certain place to tune in 640. I suppose at that point I can check the dial accuracy, but I'm not sure what I can do about it. Then, with it tuned in to 640, listening to the signal strength coming out of the radio on this meter, my highly unreliable meter here, we will then try to peak it up by turning these little screws. This whole thing is a little shaky to me, but I'm willing to give it a go. So in terms of finding a tool to fit on the end of these, I really didn't. My best is this. It's not all that good, but it's probably enough to get, it's probably enough. I'm only going to do a few of these screws, so if I struggle with them, it's not the end of the world. If I was going to do them all, then I better be efficient about it. So let's turn it on, and we're going to hear this radio start popping again. Hopefully not. Volume is down. And the radio's not plugged in power-wise, of course. Try that again. And I still don't have the light bulb in the front. It's still just sitting here. There we go. Good show. You see tubes lighting up, dim bulbs coming on. It's interesting that the dim bulbs come on so slowly, because in most radios they flash on and go down. But in this one it's all up. Okay, full power. There's the that's the signal generator right there. Okay, first, any popping and clicking? No. Quite a bit of distortion in that, eh? So I turn it up, but I could be feeding an extreme signal level in here. I don't think I am though. So I've calibrated this meter, or this signal generator, to get a better handle on just how much voltage we're putting on the antenna, so we can actually read it this time. Calibration is just a simple matter of adjusting a couple things and reading the meter. So this is 100 times 1 times 10. 100 times 10. That's 1,000 micro. Are you following me on this? That's 1,000 microvolts, 1 millivolt. So 1 millivolt is that's a pretty, for a lot of radios, that's lots of signal. 1 millivolt. Let's turn it down and see what happens. Okay, so that's now 0.1 millivolt. Just because it's gone doesn't mean it's gone. that funny tuning thing again, where it tunes differently this way than this way. Maybe that'll resolve a bit if I fool around. So we're at 660 on the signal generator. Let me put it down to 640. 640 is actually 639 on here. So you can hear the actual 640 radio station. A little bit surprising to me. Now we want to make sure this is really where 640, where you want 640. So let's take a look at the dial. 600, 650, so it's individual markings. 640 is right here. That's 640. And where it's picking it up? Around 630. Pretty darn close, eh? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? All these years. So what should I do? So I either force it to 640 by turning a bunch of these, or I just concentrate on peaking it up wherever it is. I think I should just peak it up wherever it is. And here we are. Now what to do about the dual signal? I'm so surprised. Well, one option is to do this off of 640. Say go to 630 or 620. So we move the wheel a little bit. So let's look at that wheel. Let's take a look at that wheel. So right now each of these is lined up with an area in here, and in fact it's lined right up with this second screw. So each one of them is probably lined up with the second screw. Almost. So conceivably just moving the second screw might be enough to adjust this. Let's do it manually here. Hear that? That's what's waiting. Let's try this one. It goes down. So this one, wow, this is such a rigid arrangement. You cannot push this wheel in at all. Of course, that's how they've made this, to be that rigid. How do you make something that's rigid and flexible at the same time? Here it is. And this guy, he goes down also. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on 640 here. Okay, we're at 640. Just start moving these. Look at that. So let's correct the dial at 640. So we'll go through each, like it looks like a pair of screws. Let me try this one. Yeah, each one of them is just. Of course, now the radio is tuned to 640 on the dial. No surprise that moving these would have an effect. Okay, let's start. See if we can get one to turn here. Is this even going to fit between those screw heads? This is not going to work, is it? Somehow I got it on this one over here. Wow. Okay, we're off to a bad start already. My tool situation here is crap. What was that just popped on the radio? I don't know. I hear popping and clicking. How are we gonna do that? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I thought I had this figured out, but as usual I don't. How are you ever gonna do this? First I gotta break them loose. Okay. That wasn't so hard. So we want this to go quite a ways out. This is pretty good. It's coming louder. I bet you I gotta move this one too. Just on the assumption. Okay, how you doing? Now I think we need the to watch the meter, signal level meter. Let's just take a peek at that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop for a second, rearrange my video cameras here. Okay, Old Faithful, and this meter always works for me. So I'll turn the volume up and down. Pretty terrible distortion there, eh? Wow. Set it around 3. Now the radio is tuned exactly 640 on the dial. Signal generator is putting out a signal at 640. And I've already tuned the radio a little bit towards it. Let's finish up here. Just a little more in there. Watch the meter, Jim. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next wheel. Let me first manually check it. Okay, watch the meter. Up, up, up. Yikes! What's going on there? What was going on there? So in my ear, the tone doesn't appear to get any louder. Something else is getting louder. Could be it's so far out of alignment here. As I push this, it begins to tune a noise off, adjacent to the signal. If I tune it the other way, it would tune into the signal. I can't because it won't move unless I turn the screw. So the only way to find out this is what's needed is to actually do it. And so I will. Okay, it's not all that tight. Now, we gotta watch that meter really closely now. I gotta watch 3 things at once here. Is the screw really turning? No, it is not. It certainly turned, and I couldn't watch the meter while I did that. Wow. You're supposed to know what that is. Let me just knock the signal generator out of the way for a moment. Where'd the radio signal go? I thought we'd be listening to 640. Something a little different, something a little funny going on here. Okay, let's try this. Where's the peak occur? Wow. So the peak yeah, I think that's it. 650. That's what's possible. We've seen it. Wow, okay, lots of adjusting here. Let's start by checking all the wheels again. Okay, so that goes down. That goes up a lot. That goes up a bit. They all go up a bit. Oh, this one went up and stayed. What happened there? Okay. They all appear to need to be pushed out. Okay, push them out somehow. Am I turning anything here? Yeah. Didn't it go all the way up off scale? Let's try this one out adjacent. I can't imagine there should be a big variation between any of these screws. Okay. We're getting up there. Still more. More to go. What happened there? What happened there? It's a mechanical device. It's not always settling back exactly the same spot. Better, it's better. Okay, let's fool around with this one now. So that one goes down. And again, I can't push it this way. Down all the way. So let's pull these out a little bit and see what happens. It got quieter. It's right on the money. Let me just turn this back a little bit. It's all down from there. Okay, good. Release it a little bit here. That little bit made all the difference there. Let me put it back. You gotta get a feel for this guy. So you can't make a rapid change on these. So with the meter bopping up and down a little bit, I think that's it. I think that's good. Okay, on to the next one. It too can be pushed out. Look at this screw way out here. The screw should be loose. Yeah. Okay. Again, I don't think there should be a great difference between these screw positions. Wait a minute, I can get the tool on this one. Get it on, but it doesn't do anything. Oh, oh. Where are we at? Touch more. You can see that I put this one more or less back in balance with the others. Okay, check them all. There we go. This one still goes up a bit. This one. Maybe a bit. I don't know, let's listen to it for real. Let's get this crazy stuff out of here and listen to what it really sounds like. We'll do it with the loop antenna. A bit of a new camera angle here. Get used to setting up the camera in a new way. Okay, antenna on. Well, I turn this up, we should hear 640. You already said that.
Government priorities leave no money for education. Always healthcare continues. School breakfast programs canceled. It doesn't have to be this way. Premier Ford could spend $1 billion shutting down the beer store, laying off 7,000 hard-working employees just to get beer in corner stores. That's $1 billion that could be spent on schools and students to end hallway healthcare and keep school breakfast programs intact. Let's get our priorities right. Premier Ford, keep your promise that no one will lose a job. Paid for by UFCW 12R24. The union for beer store employees.
Good morning. 18 minutes after 10 o'clock with a look at the drive. 640 Toronto chopper traffic for
Tony?
Here's Richard.
Well, Kelly, a couple of issues go for the main problems for the 403 in the Mississauga area. The eastbound off-ramp going to eastbound East Gate. We've got a crash. 2 left lanes are blocked. Now new problems for the 401 westbound express past the 427. Assault vehicle in the left lane. Minor issues for the Gardner eastbound at Jarvis. There's a assault vehicle on the right shoulder. And in-town Main Street remains closed between Gerrard and Queens for cleanup after the Raptors celebration from last night. We've got a closure in Caledon. King Street is closed between Airport Road and Torbram for a crash investigation. The 3-day sales event, it's one amazing sale and it's on this week at Mercedes-Benz. Enjoy 3 monthly...
So the distortion could easily be from the speaker. We have to I have to hook up another temporary speaker to find out what is going on there, and of course we'll have two speakers going at once. You know, I do have another alternative. I could connect the output of this radio straight into my video sound system, and we could hear. Got easier ways of doing that. Hey, signal tracer. Hey, hey, hey. Let's see what it has to say about how things sound. So the unfortunate thing again is, in most radios, you turn the volume, you're affecting the amplifier circuits. But in this one, the volume control is a variable resistor right on the antenna, and then some sound sucking system one or two tubes in. Oddly enough, as I understand how this is done. So that means I just can't turn it down and then listen. I have to have this playing. I'll just keep this low. There we go. Yes, the Raptors won last night. Okay, I'll put this on RF. RF 640. Well, we'll find it right on the antenna here, I guess. What's going on? What's happening? Ground on. Try that again. RF. Band A. Oh! Somehow this button got flipped. Band B. Okay, now we're going to hear it.
Stem cell research and the good there's a lot of people that are collecting stem cells for their babies after they're born from the placenta. So, do tell, is it...
So, it sounds perfectly clear on the antenna. And we're just going to go tube by tube here and listen to it. So, this is the output of the first tube, the supposed antenna. Oh, jumper. This radio just mystifies me at every turn. So that's the antenna comes to this tube. The output of this tube goes to the input of this one. This is the first tuned tube. Yeah, they're spread out through the radio to match the mechanics here. So we go on the grid of this tube. Son of a gun, same thing.
Recognize that there are actually very
that's what's available at the antenna.
therapies that are ready for the clinic.
This is what's coming out of the first tube. You know, big pop coming. Like nothing. I don't get it. Okay, coming out of the second tube. Just grab the volume control here. I don't get it. Coming out of the third tube. It's a little weak bit there. Can't make it to the rest of the tubes here. What a mess. Can we make it now? Yes. Okay, so we listened to the output of this tube, didn't we? Okay, output of this next tube. All of a sudden, there it is.
That's right. Look, I'm a believer. I've worked in this area for over 2 decades, believe it or not, you know, and worked very closely with the scientific community on it. So I think, look, at the end of the day,
What the heck is happening here? It's just, first tubes don't seem to matter. This seems to be the start of things right here. Wow. Well, let's just keep going. So we'll go to the output of this tube. Wow! 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 That's with the attenuator all the way attenuating. That's quite the signal there. That's a whopper. Let's try it again.
and maybe even for other forms of products like burn and correcting, hopefully, orthopedic problems. But is it?
And then right on the grid. Now the grid has both RF and AF on it. So we're listening to the RF. You know, I'm going to listen to it on this end of the resistor here. Turn it down. Blow our ears off. Okay, so listen to that signal. It's noisy. Now here's what's on the antenna.
I appreciate your time and good luck at the conference. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, great. Thank you.
Is Tim Caulfield. He is a Canadian chair, research chair in health law and policy, also a professor at the University of...
Well, I thought today was going to be the last day, but wow, this is a new mystery. How can you have the signal on the antenna, can't hear it on the first 2 tubes? It should be getting stronger every time. But then somehow when you get out here, it appears. It's possible that the radio is receiving this signal right in here somewhere. You know, I don't have the big cover plate on here. Can't imagine it would make that much difference. So the possibility here is that I started this kind of wrong. I started this with the lead tube and work my way towards the speaker. I should really start with the speaker, work my way back out. I think there's a chance that these front 2 tubes are so misaligned, the resonant circuits are so misaligned, that the antenna signal is just kind of working its way through without any boost until it gets over here. Because in fact these are tuned somewhere else. As much as I did all this, I don't know. That doesn't make sense, does it? It's another case of things not making sense. To me, anyway. You know, there is, I know this, in my house, there is a noise signal right adjacent to 640. That's what we're hearing. There it is. And there's 640. You know what, maybe I don't have my antenna tuned. Let's see if I can... How would that help? We just rise up the signal we're after making it bigger and bigger relative to the noise. I don't know what to do. Let's do it. Now, there's no more to get from the antenna. Let's repeat it. We'll follow the antenna right to this tube here, first off. Here we go. It's not even there.
Sometimes we think we can save money by selling our homes ourselves without an agent. Well, let me tell you about Harvey. Harvey's neighbor made an offer to buy Harvey's home, but Harvey didn't want to take any chances with his retirement, since it would be funded by the sale of his home. So he contacted Frank Leo and Associates and his multi-million-dollar marketing system. With tons of showings and 4 competing offers, the property was sold fast and get...
Signal goes from there, disappears into this big cable. Guessing it comes out on this black wire. I gotta look at the circuit diagram here. This coil is between the grid and ground. What is this doing here? Let's look at, I'm gonna have to look at the schematic. It's our only hope now. There we go. So that's the coil right there. Coil to ground. So, you know, the ungrounded end is hooked right to this grid. When I listen to the antenna, I hear it. I listen here, I hear next to nothing. Is it simply because I have the volume turned down on the radio? You know what? This first part's going to work fine if the radio's not switched on. Let's find out. Let's find out if that's what's really happening. Just have the volume so low. So if that's the case, I have the volume so low, that just bodes, that suggests how powerful the amplification is. That tiny little signal makes it through here somehow. It makes it to the speaker. Let's kill the power. The only thing we'll hear now is the signal tracer. This is the antenna.
By JYD, who we had on from the Toronto Raptors, who just is a
grid
great
of the first tube. 0. Turn up the volume.
Point buckets, as he put it. Here's Van Vliet joking around with Lowry.
Kyle Lowry, Toronto Raptors. Fred.
So the one volume control is right on the antenna. The other volume control, let's take a peek at that too. The other volume control is here. And what it's doing is it's simply applying, it's shorting this coil out. I guess that's the best way to put it. Depending upon where you slide the volume, you short out this coil more and more. The more shorted this coil, the more it draws down what's going on over here. So by by the third tube, it's wide open from there, volume control wise. So they're controlling it on the first 2 tubes. they probably found that with this many tubes lined up, that's a lot of tubes, the amplification was so great that they couldn't just rely on this. They had to include another way to calm this down, and this is the technique they figured out. So the modern receivers, the grid voltage is varied because the tubes are sensitive to the grid voltage, the grid bias, in terms of its amplification factor. That's how you control volume in the other radios. But this one, these tubes don't do that, or at least they didn't attempt that kind of thing. You know, take back some DC from the detector and shove it onto grids back here. They didn't do that. So there's no automatic quieting, it's all by hand. Now I've turned the volume right up. If we turn the radio back on, it's just going to be blasting in here. And I just can't do that. So how do we get around this problem? Is it a problem? Maybe it isn't a problem. I mean, the radio does work, the volume control does work. The quality of the signal that's coming out of the speaker, though, is very poor compared to what's on the antenna, I think. I don't know. So any one of these tubes could be bad enough that it's introducing distortion that we heard when the volume was up a little bit. Any one of them could be like that. The most likely one, though, is the 227, I think. The tubes I have in the front end are the stronger tubes. I believe I put the strongest tubes in position 1 and 2. So when it comes back down to now, am I tuning this radio properly when I'm doing what I'm doing? I think I am. How is it I got no signal here? You know what I can do? I know what I can do. I can pop a tube out. For instance, I can go over the amplifier here and pop out this audio tube. I won't listen to it anymore on the speaker. Thumbs up on that, Jim. Okay, audio tube out. That'd be this one. What a good idea. The radio is exactly the same. The only thing we can hear now is the signal tracer, nothing else. Sometimes you gotta let a lot of time go by before the good ideas show up. Let's power it back on. I think it's a good idea. We're still just on the antenna. So interestingly enough, the sound you're hearing, if you're hearing it, is coming out of my signal tracer now. The signal tracer pickup is just laying here on my bench. It's just not connected to anything. There's enough stuff coming out of this radio now to get 640 onto this little pin. That's what I think's happening. Okay, remember, volume's up. Look at that.
Thank you for the shot. What kind of price is that?
So what's that tell you? That tells you that once you get levels up in here, probably these long plate wires are just radiating like crazy. There's umpteen radio transmitters in here. It's really kind of true in a way. It's radio frequency it's working with. Each of these tubes is boosting it and then sending it on a wire. There's no reason to think it couldn't. These wires can interact. There's a big metal panel that's supposed to be on top here. Maybe that would get rid of all that. Okay, up all the way. I have to turn this way down because Okay, I'll start on the antenna. Where'd he go? Sorry about that. Why get nothing? What? What? Okay, on the antenna.
And the man that's been at every home game the 24 years that this team has been in existence. Nav Bhatia, he's been on the show
Tune the
before,
tracer.
and here he is after the win.
The first person to congratulate and hug me was Coach Steve Kerr. He came and he said, so
Yeah, the big story in Canada, of course, is the Raptors all the time. So it goes from here to the grid. You should hear the same thing on the grid.
Yeah, well, that's classic.
Wait, let's start again. Because there's so much signal leaking out here. Grid.
There's talk of Messiah
Hear the volume?
Something went down.
Same volume here.
The sheriff's deputy?
Yeah, perfect.
Here, come listen.
So I just had the volume too low to do this. Same volume there. Now we'll go to the output. Should be louder.
In the video, there he is
Louder.
on the spot shadow on the left side of your screen.
Now it goes to the input of this tube.
The Raptors team president.
This tube will go to the output. Should be louder.
Title: The Alameda County Sheriff's Department tells
Turn down.
us he pushed the deputy, then hit the deputy
Hear it?
in the face after the deputy wouldn't let him onto the court. Now he didn't.
Output of the next tube should be louder.
This is going to be a major
little
story
louder.
as it unfolds. Accused of hitting a deputy in. Now we've reached out to
Output of the next tube, I think it's going to be a lot louder.
Okay, I don't know was, at somebody holding the jury back, and apparently Kyle Lowry comes up into the shot shortly after and pulls the jury away onto the court. But I have a couple of questions here. First of all, why would you,
It's a lovely
when you
signal
find
there.
out he's the president, even mention this? Because I think there should be no charge, and you turn a blind eye in
Okay,
this situation.
next tube. Input to the next tube. We will check the input to the next tube. Just right here.
He's the president of the Raptors. He is imperative.
Output of the next tube.
pictures of him celebrating in the locker room afterwards,
Yeah.
and you can clearly see he has his credentials.
Lots of amplification. What happened to my...
I'm not sure.
Like a heavy.
It's just right. So it's really coming out of this tube strong. Apparently, this guy, the detector's looking for a 50-volt signal on the grid. I'm not sure about that. So it seems to have, well, if it gets a 50-volt signal on it, it would probably develop a roughly 50-volt bias. Maybe a little less. That is what it kind of does. So here's what's on the grid of that tube. Hang on to your ears.
Yesterday on the program, I had an opportunity to
Lots of juice there. That's RF. Now, coming out of this tube should be a little bit of RF still. Let's hear it.
talk to him.
Lots of RF there. We'll switch now to audio. Turn it down before we get our ears blasted. So now we'll look for audio. I think we'll look for it right on the grid again, because both audio and RF should be on that grid. Volume controls. Hang on to your ears.
we're not recommending that whatsoever. In fact, I think we recommend against any change to the GST.
All right, he's saying that's not going to happen. We've not recommended.
Doesn't that sound great? Now we'll go to the plate of the detector tube. Did it sound great? Audio, plate, pop coming.
You're going to have to add a 2% to that GST to cover the cost. It's 10:44. We'll talk to him in a matter of minutes. 640 Toronto's chopper traffic. Richard Martin.
Kelly, we still have a couple of issues on the go for the major routes. For the 403 eastbound off-ramp to the eastbound East Gate, we've got a crash. 2 left lanes are blocked.
Tuning.
Problems on the 401 westbound express just passed. Vehicle in the left lane. Now new problems on the east.
Two spots.
We're doing emergency road work, blocking the right lane. In town, Yonge Street remains closed.
No, maybe not.
Celebrations from last night. We've got a closure in Paladin.
It's different going left to right.
for an ongoing crash investigation. Tick every box of a Subaru, fully equipped.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this control back and forth a few times here. Okay, that's to kind of get the mechanics into their resting spot. Tune back to 640. Where is it? 640. Dead on. We'll have a listen. We'll have a listen using audio on the literally the output going to the amplifier.
Great before you've even had a chance to sleep on their pillow. Right now, they're offering you the lowest price ever offered on radio or TV. So when you go to mypillow.com, click on the 2-pack special. You'll get 2 Pillow premium pillows for $69.98 US. That's just $34.99 per pillow. How good is that? So not only do you wake up happy, but you didn't have to break the bank. So if you want to get the lowest price ever offered, go to mypillow.com. My Pillow premium pillows for $69.98, just $34.99 each. That is the lowest.
So that's the sound heading for the amplifier and therefore the speaker. What do we get? Oh, I got this thing turned up full blast, do I not? Turn it down. Tuning again. Down. 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 So they all go down anyway. That means they are either sitting on their peak or on the far side of the peak, or the near side of the peak, however you want to look at it. I think we're at the end of the road here. I think we've reached the culmination. I don't think there's too much more I can do. I'm not sure I did all that much to this guy. Ultimately, I think this radio did a lot to me. I think that's what really happened. I put the panel back on top and give it one last check out, and we'll see what it sounds like. There we are. Okay, I think I've got it all pretty much back together. Switch it on. Now I've still got the cover. Oh, this thing. I still have the cover for the detector off. Let's just make sure we pick up 640 here.
Portion of the population without any drug coverage.
When you looked into this yourself and did some research on a universal pharmacare program, did you do any research into how it would affect the future of the insurance industry of Canada?
No, we didn't look at that, but sort of the publication of the report, there were several comments exactly on that topic saying private insurers already provide significant coverage for
Distorted speaker, for sure.
multiple sectors.
I'll put this on.
There were to be a national pharmacare program.
Any difference?
All these individuals covered by their employer's plan would have to be covered by the national pharmacare program if there is indeed a universal pharmacare program.
Yeah, what's being discussed in Canada is a nationwide pharmacare program in which some people would have their prescription drug needs paid for by a government program. Yeah, we have free health care in Canada. No, not really. No, we pay for it with our taxes, and then a good portion of it we pay out of our pocket. So for things like prescription medicines and things like that, doctor says take this, you got to go buy it at the store to take it. So it's not all free here in Canada. But there is some discussions around the problem of people who can't afford their medications, don't take them, and then they end up in the hospital sicker than ever, and ultimately it's more expensive. So it's actually cheaper for society to go ahead and cover this cost for those who can't themselves, because the cost is coming. Okay, let's tune through here now that I finished my political speech. Wasn't really political, was it? Let's go through and just see what this thing will pick up. Now it is on a tuned antenna. 640, so we'll go 610. Okay, I'm going to tune up the antenna a little bit here. Clearly not hearing 610. 590. Great. Anything below that? The antenna tuning is very, very sharp on this antenna I'm using. So we'll whoa. Yeah, no volume control. I'll go up to 680, which I'm guessing is right there. Let's see what we get.
As well, there was slower than expected industrial production numbers. So
680 with a noise signal right next to it. Okay, let's keep going. There's a French station up in this area. I don't know the frequency of it. A 740. That's pretty good. The antenna's not tuned here anymore. It's a very sensitive receiver. Okay, let me tune the antenna into this range here. Tune the antenna again. That's a French signal. Look at the frequency, jump 850. Talking about the Raptors. And from here, I don't expect to pick up any other signals. I'm not even going to go looking because I know there won't be anything up here. Virtually no radios picks up stuff up here during the day. So generally, you know, that's really pretty good. I think that's really pretty good. Pretty happy with that result. Now, I mean, this was working when I got it, so I'm happy it's still working. But I think it's a little better. It's got better tubes in it. Certainly a little better alignment in the end. Great, but I don't think there's anything more I can do for this guy. Clearly, he needs a better speaker. My recommendation to anybody with a radio like this is sneak a brand new speaker into it, brand new, or you know, modern, top shape speaker. You can just leave this connected for field coil purposes for the power supply, and then just run the voice coil leads to an alternate speaker, and you get perfect sound out of one of these guys pretty well. It's great. I like it. Okay, I think we're done. So thanks so much for watching this series, as tough as it got there, and then how sad is it for all of us that the popping sound just went away. I mean, it's great for the radio, but left me with a terrible taste in my mouth. Anyway, it's really too bad. So, great. Next radio coming in here is your typical 1940s big multi-band shortwave radio, and we'll see how that goes. So thanks so much for watching this series. We're on to the next thing.